So WordPress 5 is with us, and so is Gutenberg. And if you want to get the most out of Gutenberg, then I've got a plugin that's really going to give you some great features. Best of all, it's from a developer that we're well renowned using, and I'm going to take you through all the features it offers right now. My name is Paul C, and this is WPTuts, the channel where I help you create beautiful WordPress websites. If this is your first time on the channel, please consider subscribing and smashing that bell icon below to become part of the WP crew and be notified every time new content is added to the channel. Okay, so whether you like Gutenberg or not, if you want to get the most out of WordPress, you're going to need to, in the near future, start working with it. So in this video, I just want to take you through a plugin that I've come across. It's been released by Brainstorm Force that gives us a ton of extra blocks. The best of all, it is completely free and a really nice package. So I want to show you what those different blocks are and how to use them in your designs. So if we jump over to our plugin section, you can see I've already gone ahead and done a search for Ultimate Add-ons for Gutenberg. The Ultimate Add-ons for Gutenberg is completely free, and if you want to take a look at what's in there, you can jump over to the WordPress plugins depository and you can take a look in there. However, I've already gone ahead, downloaded it, installed it and activated it, so we are good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my posts or pages. Doesn't really matter, we can use Gutenberg in either of those. We're going to come in and we're going to say we're going to add a new post. Once you've done that, it's going to take us into WordPress and into Gutenberg Editor. Now, I haven't really covered Gutenberg in too much detail, so if this is something you'd like to have covered in a future video, let me know in the comment section below and I'll create a beginner's guide to using Gutenberg to take you through all the different things you need to know to get up to speed in double quick time to start creating pages and posts using Gutenberg. But for now, let's just take a look at what we can do with this new plugin. If we come up to the little plus in the top left hand corner, this is where we can select and view all the blocks we have available. Click and expand, and as you can see, we can search for any block that we know, or we can scroll through. We can find at the top our most used blocks, and if we scroll on through, everything will be categorized, and at the bottom we've got the UAGB blocks, or Ultimate Add-on for Gutenberg blocks at the bottom. If we click to expand that out, you can see we now have a range of 12 new blocks that we can start to use. Now these are great because they are really cool design elements, so we can start to pull in some additional functions. So let's just take you through step by step each one of these, what they offer and what they do inside Gutenberg itself. Now before we take a look at the first block, the nice thing about UAGB is the fact it's theme independent. It doesn't matter what theme you use it on, you're still going to get great results. Now the one thing to bear in mind when you are using Gutenberg, it's not like working with Elementor or Visual Composer or any of those kinds of page builders. You're not going to see what it'll look like inside your theme. You're going to get a much simpler version in a slimmer content area. But you're going to get into the habit of switching back and forth between your previews to see what's going on. So it's not ideal. It would be nice to see if they update Gutenberg to actually show that information. But for now, we've got to work with these limitations. So let's take a look at the advanced headings first of all. If we click on there, you can see it opens up a new section, a new block, and we can now go in and start to design things. If we look on the right-hand side, we've got a ton of options that are available for this particular block, and we can go through and fine-tune whatever we want. So for this heading, you can see we can come in and we can just pop in whatever text we want. So I'll just put I am a heading. So you can see we can also have a separated line and write in a description. So we'll say this is a description. So it's very basic to start off with, but we do get some nice options. We can come in and adjust the heading sizes. We can adjust the tag that's being used for the heading size. If we want this to be the primary heading, we can use the H1 tag. We can also then adjust things like the subheading font size. And we can come down, we've got options for changing the colors of those different things. So we can change the heading color, the subheading color, and the separator color. We can fine tune and tweak those different elements. Now again, this is not going to give us the same amount of control as we'd have with something like Elementor, but it is a great starting point. If we come down, we've got some advanced options or additional options. You can see we can adjust the separator height. So we can adjust the thickness of that, the separator width, heading spacing, separator spacing, and finally the subheading spacing. So we can fine tune and tweak those different elements. We've also got an advanced tab. If you open that up, on pretty much all of these different blocks, we've got the additional CSS class, which we could then use something else to target those specific classes assigned to either this block or any blocks you might want to sort of associate the same CSS class with. So as I've said, it's pretty basic. We can come up, you can see we've got some additional options at the top that are specific to working with blocks inside Gutenberg itself. So we can come in and do something like highlight this word description, for example, and we can just set that to be bold. We can set it to be italic if we want to. So we can fine tune and tweak various different elements in there. So that's the advanced headings block. Let's just take a look at that, what it looks like on the page. So if we click on preview, that'll open up the preview window, and whatever theme we're using, we'll then see that displayed on our page. So you can see there's our heading, all looks as we'd expect it to. Close that down, and let's just get rid of this section. So we'll just get rid of that block, and we'll come up and we'll add another block in. So again, we'll come to the UAGB, the section option. So this is where we can go in and do things like we want to do like a pull quote or something like that. We could easily do that using this function. So let's start simple just by dropping some text in. So we'll say we'll put a little bit of filler text in there. So you can see just drops in like a normal text element or text block. What we can do now is that we can come over and we can change the font size if we want to. So we can set that to any of these values. You can see we can adjust then the actual size itself for any of those predefined values, and it'll jump over to be custom, so we can fine tune and tweak to get exactly what we want on there. Obviously we can adjust the things like the alignment just by using the normal tools, the bold, all those kinds of things, links, etc. can all be done in there. What we can also do is we can set things up like put a nice drop cap in there, so we can select that, so it makes it something that will draw attention a little better, so which is pretty nice. If we come to the color settings, you can see we can now do things like change the background color, the text color, and so on. So let's just say we want to put a pale gray background in there. You can see it now puts spacing and so on around there, and we can adjust the font if we want to. So we can say we want to put it to a lighter gray or blue, black, whatever color you want, or you can use any of these color picker options to get exactly the color you want to make sure it ties in exactly to the design you're working with. It's a very, very simple way of adding text in there, but it's a great way that you've got some information you want to pull out, such as a pull quote or something like that. Then this is a simple way of using it. Again, let's take a preview of that to see what it looks like. And there we go. So you can see it's quite a nice way of being able to draw attention to some content you want to highlight inside the design using this block. So next up, we've got, if we come down, we've now got the content timeline. Now this is a really cool, creative way of being able to put content in. And I like the way that they've implemented it. It's very, very simple. It's got some nice graphical tweaks. You can see, for example, this little green bar at the middle of it, which is kind of your flow through the progress. As we scroll down the page, you can see as we hit each one of those different sections, the line moves down and highlights that relevant section, which I think is a really nice way of working. We've also got a lot of options on the right-hand side. So if you come over and take a look, if you go to general, for example, we can adjust the number of different entries you've got in our timeline. So we can easily adjust that. As you can see, it's very, very simple. And as we do it, it'll automatically add in the new entries for us or take them away should we want to reduce it. Next up, we go to the date settings. You can see we can now come in and adjust the dates on a simple one-by-one basis. So as we add more in there or less in there, we can easily adjust the values that actually display inside that. We've also got the option then to adjust the date colors. You can see we can easily pick any color we want that ties into the design that we're working with. We can also adjust the date font size. So we want to make that more prevalent. We can easily do that. Coming to our layout section, you can see we've got orientation, center, left, and right. So there's some nice visual ways of being able to set this up to make sure it looks great. Depending on the amount of information you've got in there, you might find one design works better over another. You've also then got the option for the arrow alignment. You can see we've got the different positions for that, which again is a really nice way of being able to set this up. And finally, we've got the stack on tablet. So you can see we can set this to stack up on the different devices. So none, tablet, or mobile, depending upon how we want that to be viewed on the different types of devices. So we can adjust that to make sure it looks great across all the different devices we want to use. Next up, we've got the spacing option. And as you can see, we've got options for horizontal spacing, vertical spacing, and also for heading bottom spacing. So we can easily fine tune that depending upon the amount of information that's being displayed. Then we've got the timeline items themselves. So you can see we can adjust the heading tag that's being used. So we've got timeline heading 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so on. We can change the value of that to make sure that, again, we've got the right kind of HTML markers in there. We can specify whatever we want for the importance of this particular sort of block that's being used. We can then come in and adjust the colors of any of these different elements, so the color settings for the heading, the content, the background color. Everything can be adjusted, everything can be tweaked to make sure it fits in perfectly. We can round the corners if we want to, adjust the padding, heading font size, content font size, so you can get exactly what you want. And then finally, we've got the connector option. So you can see we can come in and adjust the icon size, the border width, we can adjust the connector width, the icon background size, lots of different tweakable options inside there. You've also got the option there for the the connector color settings, so we can have focus, normal, and hover. So depending upon what you want, you can say on focus you might want it to be red, You might want it to be on hover, you want it to be yellow. So you can get kind of some very funky color combinations using this. And again, you've got your background color and your border colors, which you can adjust accordingly. Finally, you've got the advanced option, which again is just the additional CSS class that you may want to apply to this particular timeline. So next up, we've got the post grid. And as its name would suggest, it's a way of displaying your posts in a nice grid format. So we can click on there and you can see it'll pull in some basic information. Again, on the right hand side, we can go through and fine tune all these different options. So again, newest to oldest, oldest to newest, A to Z, Z to A. So we can control exactly how these are going to be displayed. Now this is where you can kind of see that my problem comes in when it's working inside the limitations of the Gutenberg editor. If we just preview this at the moment, everything looks squashed up and quite horrible. If we preview it, you can see we actually go full width. So it's a little bit difficult when you're actually designing things to get it to look the way that you want, knowing that the actual page that's going to display it is going to display it differently. So again, like I say, I hope this is one of those areas that they really do sort of focus on when it comes to working with Gutenberg to make sure that what you're actually seeing on screen is what you're going to end up with, or as close as is possible to that. Otherwise, it just makes the whole design process a lot harder than it need be. But anyway, I digress. So let's come over and you can see we can filter out the categories that we don't want to use. So we can say we only want to use tutorials, for example, or we can say all, non-classified, whatever different categories you've got available to you. Number of items, again, pretty self-explanatory. Let's just say we want to set that to 3 and we want to set our columns to be 2. You can see it's very easy, and if we preview that, you'll see that it changes it and we now get 2 side by side. So it's very easy to set up. So that's the basics. You've also got things like equal height then to make sure that your design looks good and you don't have a kind of blank spaces left below the different sections on longer and shorter articles. It would be nice to have an option for masonry in here, and I'm sure this is something they will add in a future iteration. But for now, like I say, being a free plugin and what it does for Gutenberg, it's worth grabbing just for what you have right now, let alone where it's going to be in the future. Then we've got the option. You can see we can show or hide the feature image. Depends what you want to do with the design you're working with. You can choose the size that you want to use then, so you can see you've got a range of thumbnail, medium, large and large. This will probably be dependent again upon the theme, so you have some themes that will open up more different image size options, so you may see more or less in there, depending upon the theme that you're currently using. We then got the position of the actual image itself. You can see we've got 2 options, top, which is what it currently is, or background, so we'll overlay the text over that, which I think is quite a nice effect. Put that back to top. Content, then you can see we can come in and fine tune and tweak exactly what's going to be displayed and also the tag that's being used for the title. So easy, just simple on-off switches. You can display just what you want. Colors, again, really simple. You've got your blog background color, your title, your meta color, your excerpt color, call to action background color. You can fine tune and tweak all the different options that you have available. So let's just say you wanted to change the background color. Well, we can easily come in and say, let's just choose this light gray or green or whatever you kind of want to do. Or if you want, you can easily come in and adjust this to get a perfect value for whatever you're kind of currently doing. So you can see it's very easy to tweak to get what you want. Okay, so that's those options. Let's come back down now and you can see we've got spacing, which we can adjust then, the row gap, the column gap, content padding and so on. All these things are pretty self-explanatory. There's no rocket science involved in these. And if you're ever unsure, tweak it. If you don't like it, reset it. Simple as that. You can't really go wrong. So next up, we have the multi-button option. So if we click on there, this is a really simple, self-explanatory different block. It allows you to put multiple different buttons in and do whatever you want with them. So you can see we can adjust this, additional buttons, whatever we want, and then configure each of those buttons. We can drop in the link, the target, we can adjust the colors, the size, the spacing, all those kinds of things. Very simple, and again, spacing and advanced options. Don't really think this one needs any more explanation than that, but you can, like I say, very easily drop in simple buttons, which you can then go in a style in a simple multiple button in a row kind of for configuration. So the next block that we have is the testimonials block. So if we click and drop that in here, you can see it gives us a nice simple testimonial slider. Allows us to do a range of different things. If you come onto the right hand side, you can see we can choose the number of testimonials, and this will adjust on the fly. So we can easily expand or contract that to give us enough space for all the testimonials we want to put in there. We can also come in and adjust the column value. So you can see at the moment we can set that to be 1, 2 or 3. So if we have lots of short testimonials, we can easily specify that these drop into one slider. So we'll have 3 or 2 or 1 per slide, and then we can have multiple ones rotating around as we see fit. We can also customize this based upon the device it's being viewed upon. So the columns is on a desktop, then we have columns tablet and columns mobile. So you can fine tune and tweak this to make sure it sits on every device that you want and looks spot on. Next up, we've got the carousel option. So you can see we can now fine tune and configure exactly what happens with this. So let's just set that back to 2 so we have something to actually transition. So we just set those values back. And if we come down now, you can see we can pause on hover, we can autoplay, we can adjust the autoplay speed. So if we want to make that a little longer, we can have a longer gap in between each one of those different transitions. We can also adjust the speed of the transition and set this to be an infinite loop, so it'll go around and round as opposed to looping back to the beginning. We can also adjust the arrow size on there, so you can see we can fine tune and adjust that. We can come into the image and we can set images that we want to use for each one of these different testimonials. So as we add or take away testimonials, you'll see these values will update and either increase or decrease depending upon how many you add or take away. So we choose select an image and just pick an image we want in there. And as it transitions around, when we come back around to that new particular testimonial, we'll see that we have that image in there. So this will be the person's image, the company logo, whatever you want to drop in there. Very easy. We can adjust that position of that. We can set it to the bottom, top, left or right. We can set it into a circle, normal or square. And we can also choose the actual quality and the size of the image that's going to be used. Thumbnail should be perfect for this example. We can also adjust the width of that element. Next up, we've got the typography option. You can see we can adjust the font sizes, the actual name font size, the testimonial, the company font size. We can also adjust the colors that are going to be used on there, the spacing. So you can see there's a ton of different options, background color, borders we want to apply, and again we've got the advanced option at the end that allows us to target this with a custom CSS definition. So it's really, really simple and straightforward. Like I say, with everything that you've got in the ultimate sort of add-on for Gutenberg, it's all very simple, very self-explanatory, and I just recommend testing it out and seeing what does what and how it adjusts everything. Now I'm going to skip over the next couple. We've got social share, which I think is pretty self-explanatory, and the same with Google Maps. It's just simply a case of dropping the address in, dropping the links in and so on for the different social share or the Google Map. What we do have, which is kind of genre specific, is the restaurant menu, which if you are running a restaurant based site or blog, this is going to be something that would be quite good for you. So if we click and add that in there, you can see it drops in a very simple interface, and on the right hand side we've got a ton of different options. So the number of menu items, again, it's all simple. Slide it left, slide it right, increase, decrease, whatever you want to do. Same with the number of columns. You can see we can easily adjust these just to get exactly what we want in there, to configure it exactly how we like. We've also got the option for on a desktop, tablet and mobile. We can drop images in there if we want to. So again, let's just select an image. We'll select that and you can see it now drops that image item into the actual design itself. And we do a second one and we'll just select that. You can see it's very, very simple, very easy to work with. We've also got then the option to come in and do things like adjust the separator. So you can see we've got a dashed line. We can have any of a range of different types of lines. We can set the width on that. We can set the thickness, the color. We can come in and adjust the typography, what title tag is going to be used, whether it's H1 through 6, font sizes, colors, spacing, and so on and so forth. So again, just another one that's really simple but nice, intuitive ways of working. So next on our list, we've got the info box option. So let's just open the info box up, and as you can see, it does exactly as the name suggests. It gives us a box where we can put in info, title, icon, and so on. So something that if you've used any of the page builders like Elementor, Visual Composer, and so on, all the same kinds of options are available to us in here. We can easily come in and choose from a ton of different icons, so we can set that to whatever we want. We can adjust then the colors. We can adjust all these different kinds of things. So you can see on the hover effects, we've got that option in there. The separator, the call to action itself, so we can adjust that. So you can see we've got none, text button, and complete box. We can control how much of the element is required to be clicked to do that action. We can adjust the typography, the color settings, and also the things like the spacing and so on. So it's very easy to work with. We can simply come in, choose what we want, start typing it in there, and make any changes we want inside this info box. So again, a really simple, intuitive way of adding additional content using the ultimate add-ons for Gutenberg. So next up, we've got the team and we've got the icon list. So let's take a look at teams next. Click on there, you can see this opens up a box now where we can go through and add in team members. So at the moment there's no image being displayed, but we can easily rectify that on the right hand side by just choosing select image, choose the picture that we want, and as you can see that now updates that. We can adjust the position. You can see everything updates in real time, makes it very, very easy to see exactly what you're going to get. adjust the image size, the shape. You can see we can easily come into there and make changes, the quality, the size, all these kinds of good things. We can adjust the social links, add more in there, enable them, disable them, all very, very easy to do. We can then adjust all the different values for any of the social icons if we actually use them. We can adjust the color settings. So you can see we can adjust the title on there. We can adjust all these kinds of things and make it really, really ugly if we want to, which is exactly what I'm doing at the moment. So I'm making it incredibly ugly. We can adjust the spacing on there, and we can just make sure that it looks exactly as we want. So that's a really, really easy way of just adding in any information you want about the people that work in your company, or anything else you want to use these for if it kind of fits into that design kind of aesthetic. So the final one we have is the icon list. So we click and drop that in there. You can see we now get a really simple layout. We've got the icon. In this example, it's the Facebook icon. You can see we can choose the number of icons, easily just increase or decrease that. And as we increase them, you can see it adds in new entries. As we decrease them, it will take those away. So we can click and open that up. We can set whatever we want in here from any of the icons available. So we can choose this one, for example. We can set any URL that we want and specify that we want it to open in a new tab just to make sure that it goes to a new page if it's external, or if we don't want it to, we can just disable that. We can then come in and choose the icon color. We can set an icon on hover color as well. So we can say we want it to be red, and then when we hover over it, we want to go yellow. So you can see, very, very simple. We can adjust the label color and set that whatever we want on there, and the label hover color as well. So we can say when we hover over that, you can see both those values now update and change. Coming to the general, you can see we've got the option for different types of layers. We can do vertical and horizontal. We can specify that they stack on different types of devices if we want them to. You can see we can also hide labels. We can adjust the size, do whatever we want in there. Again, same with the label size, same with the icon size, adjust the gaps in between. All very simple and very intuitive. And that is Ultimate Add-ons for Gutenberg. It comes from Brainstorm Force, it's completely free. And Brainstorm Force are the people behind the Astra theme and also the Ultimate Add-ons for Elementor and a ton of other really cool add-ons. These are people that know exactly what they're doing. So to have a free option to expand what you can do inside Gutenberg, I think is a great start. I'd highly recommend downloading this if you are using Gutenberg. Even if you're not and you want to see what it's like, download it, install it, test it out and see what it can do. See if it's something you think will expand the tools that you have available inside Gutenberg itself. Well, as always, I'd love to get your feedback on this. Please pop your comments, questions, and all kinds of feedback in that comment section below. And again, if you'd also like to see a more in-depth video on how to use Gutenberg itself, let me know in that comment section below, and I'll take a look at putting a video together specifically for you guys. Well, my name's been Paul C. This has been WPTuts, and until next time, take care.